The crowd circled like sharks smelling blood. Phones were up, recording, waiting for the moment. Jake Mitchell stood 6 feet tall, captain of the football team, king of Riverside High. His hand was on her backpack. His boys flanked him. 300 students watched from the quad. But the girl wasn't moving. She stood there, calm, steady. Her dark eyes met his without a flicker of fear. Not defiance, not anger, just nothing. Like he didn't exist. Like his 6-foot frame and designer sneakers and 40,000 Instagram followers meant absolutely nothing. And that smile, that small, knowing smile at the corner of her lips. Jake's grip tightened on her backpack. His jaw clenched. He was about to make this girl regret ever stepping foot in his school. What he didn't know was that smile, that calm. It was about to cost him everything. Tell us where you are watching from and what time it is right now. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video to your friends. But this story? This story started 3 weeks earlier. The girl's name was Maya, 16 years old, new to Riverside High. She walked in on a Monday morning wearing a simple black hoodie and jeans. No designer labels, no jewelry, no makeup. She moved through the hallways like water, quiet, observant. She found her locker. She sat in the back of every class. She spoke only when spoken to. Jake noticed her immediately. Not because she was beautiful. She was, but because she didn't look at him. Everyone looked at Jake Mitchell. Teachers, students, girls who wanted to date him, guys who wanted to be him. The whole school revolved around his orbit. But Maya, she walked right past him like he was invisible. That Tuesday, Jake decided to fix that. He accidentally bumped into her in the hallway. Her books scattered. His boys laughed. Jake waited for the apology, the nervous scramble, the acknowledgement of his power. Maya picked up her books, one by one. Slowly, she stood. She looked at him for exactly 2 seconds. Then she walked away. No apology, no fear, no reaction at all. Jake's boys went quiet. Did she just... Yeah, Jake said. His face burned red. She did. For the first time in his life, someone had dismissed him. Actually dismissed him, like he was nothing. He couldn't let that stand. Wednesday, he tried again, louder this time. He called out to her in the cafeteria. "Yo, new girl, you deaf or something?" His voice echoed. 200 students went silent, all eyes on Maya. She kept walking, didn't even turn around. Jake's reputation was on the line now. His boys were watching. The whole school was watching. Thursday, he stepped it up. He borrowed her notebook from her desk when she went to the bathroom. He passed it around the class. His boys drew crude pictures, wrote nasty comments. When she came back, the notebook was on her desk, open, defaced. Maya picked it up. She flipped through the pages. She saw every word, every drawing. Then she closed it, put it in her bag, and went back to taking notes on a fresh page. No tears, no anger, no reaction. The class waited for the explosion. It never came. Jake stared at the back of her head. His hands were shaking. Not from fear, from fury. This girl was making him look weak. She was supposed to break. Cry, run to the principal. Give him the satisfaction. But she gave him nothing. Friday arrived. Jake made his move. He found her bike in the parking lot after school. A simple black Schwinn. Nothing fancy. He let the air out of both tires, poured soda on the seat, scratched nobody into the paint with his keys. He waited across the street, watched her come out, watched her see the damage. Maya stopped. She looked at the bike. She ran her fingers over the scratched paint. For a moment, just a moment, Jake thought he saw something flicker in her eyes. Then it was gone. She pulled out her phone, made a call, spoke quietly. 3 minutes later, a sleek black car pulled up. The window rolled down. Maya didn't even look at the bike again. She got in. The car drove away. Jake stood there, confused, angry. Who was this girl? The next week got worse. Jake couldn't stop. He was obsessed now. This quiet girl had gotten under his skin. Every time she ignored him, every time she stayed calm, it felt like a knife twisting in his ego. Monday. He tripped her in the hallway. She caught herself, kept walking. Tuesday. He started a rumor, said she was a charity case, said she got in on a pity scholarship. The rumor spread like wildfire. Maya heard it. Everyone knew she heard it. She didn't respond. Wednesday. He knocked her lunch tray out of her hands in the cafeteria. Food went everywhere. Spaghetti on her shoes, sauce on her hoodie. The whole cafeteria gasped. Maya looked down at the mess. She looked up at Jake. And then she smiled. That same small smile. She grabbed napkins, cleaned herself up, walked out without a word. Jake's boys were getting nervous now. "Bro, maybe we should..." "Should what?" Jake snapped. "She's nobody. She's nothing. I'm just getting started." But deep down, something was off. Something about her calm, about the way she moved, like she knew something he didn't, like she was waiting for something. Thursday came. Word spread fast. Jake Mitchell was going to make the new girl pay. Publicly, in the quad. After school. Everyone would see. Everyone would know. Cross Jake Mitchell and you get destroyed. By 3 o'clock, half the school had gathered. Jake stood in the center, his boys beside him. Maya emerged from the building. That same black hoodie, that same calm walk. She stopped 10 feet away from him. "You think you're special?" Jake's voice boomed across the quad. "You think you can walk around my school like you're better than everyone? Like you're better than me?" Maya said nothing. "I'm talking to you." Jake stepped closer. The crowd pressed in. Phones went up. This was about to go viral. Maya just looked at him, those dark, steady eyes. "You're nobody," Jake hissed. "You're nothing, and it's time everyone here knows it." He reached for her backpack, ready to dump it, ready to humiliate her in front of 300 witnesses. Maya didn't move, but her eyes shifted, just slightly, past Jake, to the parking lot entrance. A sound cut through the crowd, the deep, rumbling growl of an engine. American muscle, raw power. The crowd turned. A midnight blue Dodge Challenger rolled into the parking lot. Slow, deliberate, the kind of car that costs more than most teachers make in a year. It stopped 30 feet away. The engine shut off. The driver's door opened, and Jake Mitchell's entire world was about to shatter. A man stepped out of the Challenger, tall, mid-60s, dark jacket, dark jeans. He moved like water, smooth, controlled, every step deliberate. He closed the door without looking at it. His eyes were already locked on the crowd, on Jake. The quad went silent, 300 students holding their breath. Even the wind seemed to stop. This wasn't a parent. This wasn't a teacher. This was something else. Someone else. The man stood by his car, hands loose at his sides. His gaze swept across the crowd like a searchlight. When it landed on people, they looked away. They couldn't help it. Something about his eyes made your instincts scream danger. Jake felt it too. But Jake Mitchell didn't back down from anyone. He was the king here. This was his territory. Some random old guy showing up didn't change that. "Can I help you?" Jake called out. His voice cracked, just slightly. He covered it with attitude. "This is a private matter between students." The man didn't answer. He just looked at Jake, really looked at him, like he could see through skin and bone and read every thought Jake ever had, like he was calculating, measuring, deciding. Jake's mouth went dry. "I said, I heard you." The man's voice was low, quiet, but it cut through the silence like a blade. 3 words. That's all it took. The entire crowd flinched. Jake's boys took a step back. The man started walking. Toward Maya, his pace was unhurried, casual almost, but there was weight in every step. Purpose. Like watching a wolf close distance on prey. He stopped beside Maya. She looked up at him. That same calm expression. But now there was something else. Relief. Comfort. She wasn't alone anymore. "You okay?" the man asked her. His voice softened. "Just for her." Maya nodded. "I'm fine." "You sure?" "Yeah." She glanced at Jake. "He's nothing." The words hit Jake like a slap, coming from her mouth, standing next to this man. Jake felt small suddenly. Really small. "Who the hell are you?" Jake demanded. He needed to take control back. Assert dominance. "You can't just roll up here." The man's eyes shifted to Jake. That stare. Jake's words died in his throat. His hands started shaking. He clenched them into fists, tried to hide it. "You the one who's been bothering her?" the man asked. Still quiet. Still calm. But there was something underneath now. Something cold and dark and absolutely terrifying. "I don't know what she told you, but I asked you a question." The man took one step closer. Just one. "You the one who's been bothering my daughter?" Daughter. The word hung in the air like a bomb. Jake's brain scrambled. Daughter. This was Maya's dad. This was the guy she'd been calling? The guy in the black car? "Look, man, it was just what?" Another step. Just pouring soda on her bike? Just destroying her property? Just putting your hands on her? Jake's face went pale. How did he know all that? Had Maya been telling him everything, this whole time? "It was nothing," Jake stammered. "We were just messing around. School stuff. No big deal." "No big deal." The man repeated the words, slowly, like he was tasting them, testing them. "You think intimidating a 16-year-old girl is no big deal?" The crowd was riveted now. This wasn't just some parent coming to complain. This was something else. The way the man moved, the way he spoke, the controlled fury behind every word. Someone in the crowd gasped, then someone else. A girl near the front pulled out her phone, stared at the screen, stared at the man. Her eyes went wide. "Oh my God," she whispered. "What?" her friend asked. That's Denzel Washington." The name rippled through the crowd like electricity. Denzel Washington, Oscar winner, action movie legend, The Equalizer, Training Day, Man on Fire, one of the biggest stars in Hollywood. Standing 10 feet away from Jake Mitchell, Jake's legs nearly gave out. This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. He'd been bullying Denzel Washington's daughter for 3 weeks. He'd vandalized her bike, humiliated her, put his hands on her, in front of witnesses, on camera. I didn't know." Jake could barely form words. Denzel didn't blink. Didn't know what? That she mattered? That she had people who loved her? That actions have consequences? Jake opened his mouth. Nothing came out. "Let me tell you something." Denzel's voice dropped even lower. That trademark intensity. The kind that filled movie theaters and made villains wish they'd never been born. "You see a quiet person, and you think that means weak. You think silence means they're afraid." He took another step. Jake stumbled backward. "But sometimes," Denzel continued, "silence means they're strong enough not to need your validation, smart enough not to waste energy on small people, confident enough to know that guys like you? You're temporary." The words cut deep, every single one. Jake felt his reputation crumbling, his power evaporating. 300 students watched him get dismantled by a man who hadn't raised his voice once. Hadn't thrown a punch, hadn't even made a threat. But what happened next made everyone's blood run cold. Denzel moved closer, close enough that only Jake could hear what he said next. But everyone saw Jake's face go from pale to grey, saw his hands shake, saw him take 3 quick steps back like he'd been pushed. Whatever Denzel whispered in that moment, it broke something inside Jake Mitchell. Denzel stepped back. His expression never changed. Still calm, still measured. He put his hand on Maya's shoulder. "Come on, baby girl. Let's go home." Maya picked up her backpack. She walked past Jake without looking at him, like he didn't exist, like he never existed. Denzel followed her toward the Challenger. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. Jake stood frozen. His boys abandoned him, melted back into the crowd. Nobody wanted to be associated with him now. Nobody wanted to be the guy who stood by the kid who messed with Denzel Washington's daughter. The Challenger's engine roared to life, and that's when Jake realized his biggest mistake. Because Maya's window rolled down. She looked directly at him, that same small smile on her face. But now he understood it. That smile wasn't weakness. It wasn't submission. It was patience. She'd been waiting. The whole time. Waiting for him to push far enough. Waiting for him to go public. Waiting for the moment when he'd have an audience. Because karma doesn't work in private. It works when everyone's watching. The Challenger started to pull away. But then the brake lights flashed. The car stopped. Denzel's door opened again. He stepped out, reached into his jacket. Jake's heart stopped. The entire crowd held its breath. Denzel pulled out his phone. He aimed it at Jake, at the crowd. He was recording, documenting everything, every face, every witness. "Just so we're clear," Denzel called out. His voice carried across the quad, loud enough for everyone to hear, for every phone to capture. "This stops now, today. If I hear about anyone bothering my daughter again." He paused. Let the silence build. "I'm not coming back to talk." 3 words hung in the air unspoken. "I'm coming back," and everybody knew exactly what that meant. Denzel got back in his car. The Challenger's engine growled. They drove away. The crowd exploded. Voices, shouts, phones frantically typing. The video was already uploading, already going viral. Jake Mitchell's public humiliation broadcast to the world in real time. Jake stood there, alone. Destroyed. But the worst part, the absolute worst part, he still didn't know what Denzel had whispered in his ear. And that night, when Jake got home and opened Instagram, he found out that everyone else did. The video had 40,000 views in an hour. Jake sat on his bed, phone shaking in his hands. He watched himself get destroyed over and over. Every angle, every phone in that crowd had captured it. The videos were everywhere. Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Reddit. But it wasn't the crowd footage that made his stomach drop. It was the close-up. Someone had zoomed in, enhanced the audio, isolated the moment when Denzel leaned in close, when he whispered those words that made Jake's face go white. And now everyone could hear it. Denzel's voice, low and clear. "I know where you live, Jake. I know your parents' names. I know every choice you've ever made that brought you to this moment. You think you're untouchable? You think being 17 means you're protected? Let me tell you what happens to bullies who hurt my little girl. They don't sleep easy. They don't feel safe. Because people like me, we have reach, we have resources, and we have very, very long memories. So ask yourself, was 3 weeks of feeling powerful worth the rest of your life looking over your shoulder?" Jake's hands went numb. It wasn't a threat. Not technically. Denzel never said he'd do anything illegal, never mentioned violence. But the implication? The promise behind those words? Everyone understood it perfectly. The comment section was brutal. That's not a threat. That's a warning. Jake just learned what real power looks like. My man really thought he could bully Denzel Washington's daughter. This is what instant karma looks like in real time. But the comments weren't even the worst part. The worst part was the video that went up 20 minutes later, posted by a junior named Marcus. Marcus had been filming from a different angle. He'd caught something nobody else had. The moment right before Denzel whispered to Jake. He'd caught Denzel's eyes. That look, that cold, calculated, I see exactly who you are and you're nothing look. The same look he gave corrupt cops in Training Day. The same look he gave killers in The Equalizer. The look that said, I've dealt with men far more dangerous than you, and they're all gone now. Marcus's video had a caption. This is the face of a man who's ended careers with one phone call. Jake is done. And Marcus was right. By Monday morning, everything had changed. Jake walked into school, and the hallways parted. Not out of respect, out of disgust, out of fear of being associated with him. Nobody wanted to be friends with the guy who picked on a 16-year-old girl. Nobody wanted to date the guy who got humiliated by a movie star in front of 300 witnesses. His boys? Gone. They sat at a different lunch table, acted like they'd never known him. The football coach called him into his office first period. You're suspended from the team, Coach Davis said. No emotion, just facts. Pending review. The school board's involved now. Parents are calling. Donors are calling. You made us look bad. Mitchell. But I didn't. You put your hands on another student. Multiple times. You destroyed her property. You created a hostile environment. Coach Davis leaned forward. And you got caught, on camera, by Denzel Washington. Jake's face burned. Do you know how many calls we've gotten? Coach Davis continued. News outlets, lawyers, the stories everywhere. TMZ picked it up this morning. High school bully targets Hollywood star's daughter. You're national news kid. And not the good kind. Jake left the office in a daze. Third period, he got called to the principal's office. Principal Hayes sat behind her desk. Her expression was stone. Next to her sat a woman in a sharp suit, a lawyer. Jake, this is Ms. Chen from the school district's legal department, Principal Hayes said. We need to discuss your conduct. The meeting lasted 20 minutes. 20 minutes of reviewing evidence, witness statements, video footage, the bike, the notebook, the lunch tray, every single thing Jake had done for 3 weeks. We take bullying very seriously at Riverside High, Ms. Chen said, especially when it targets protected groups and involves destruction of property. You're being suspended for 2 weeks. When you return, you'll be on probation. One more incident and you're expelled. Do you understand? Jake nodded. His throat was too tight to speak. And Jake? Principal Hayes added. Your college applications? The ones with football scholarships? I'd start looking at backup plans. Jake walked out of the office, into the hallway. Students stared, whispered, pointed. He was a ghost now, a cautionary tale. The guy who learned the hard way that quiet doesn't mean weak. Lunch period arrived. Jake sat alone at a corner table, his food untouched. He watched the cafeteria buzz with life, with laughter, with conversation, all of it happening around him, without him. Then the doors opened. Maya walked in. The cafeteria went quiet. Everyone watched. This was the moment. The girl who'd been silent for 3 weeks. The girl who'd taken everything Jake threw at her without breaking. The girl who turned out to be Denzel Washington's daughter. What would she do now? Maya got her lunch. She scanned the cafeteria. Her eyes landed on a table full of girls from her English class. They'd been nice to her. Quiet support. Small kindnesses. She walked over. They made room. She sat down, and just like that, she was part of something, connected, included. She never looked at Jake once. To her, he didn't exist. That hurt worse than anything Denzel could have said. Jake left school early. Couldn't take it anymore. He drove home in silence. His phone kept buzzing. Messages, notifications, all negative. He turned it off. He sat in his room, replayed the last 3 weeks in his mind. Every choice, every moment, every time he could have stopped and didn't. Why? Why had he done it? Because she was quiet? Because she didn't worship him like everyone else? Because for the first time in his life, someone made him feel ordinary? He thought about Denzel's words, the whispered warning, the promise. But it wasn't the threat that haunted him. It was the truth behind it. Jake had spent 3 weeks trying to break someone who was already stronger than him, someone who didn't need to shout. Didn't need to fight, didn't need to prove anything. Maya had real power, the kind of power that came from knowing who you were, from having people who loved you, from understanding that temporary kings in high school hallways meant nothing in the real world. Jake had popularity, followers, a reputation. Maya had Denzel Washington. And more than that, she had herself. That unshakable calm, that quiet strength, that patience to let karma do its work. Jake's phone buzzed again. Despite turning it off, a text broke through. Unknown number. He opened it. A single line. Hope you learned something. Maya. Jake stared at the message, and for the first time in 3 weeks, he felt something he hadn't felt before. Shame. Real, actual shame. Not embarrassment. Not fear of consequences. But genuine regret for hurting someone who'd never done anything to him. He typed back, "I'm sorry." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Then, "I know, but sorry doesn't undo what you did. It just means you're finally growing up." The dots disappeared. The conversation ended. Jake sat there, in his room, alone, his old life gone, his reputation destroyed, his future uncertain. But somewhere across town, Maya sat at dinner with her father. They talked about school, about books, about life. She was smiling, really smiling, because she'd proven something important, that you don't need to be loud to be heard, you don't need to fight to be strong, and you don't need revenge when karma's got your back. Denzel looked at his daughter, pride in his eyes. "I'm proud of you, you know. The way you handled all that." "You could have told me earlier, could have asked me to step in." Maya shrugged. "I wanted to see how far he'd go, wanted him to show everyone who he really was." "Smart," Denzel said. "Let them destroy themselves." "You taught me that," Maya said. "From your movies. The equalizer doesn't go looking for fights, but when they come to him, he finishes them." Denzel smiled. That same quiet smile Maya had inherited. "Just remember," he said, "real power is knowing when to use it, and knowing you don't always have to." Maya nodded. She understood. Because at the end of the day, Jake Mitchell had taught her something too. He'd shown her that bullies are just scared people trying to feel big. That loud doesn't mean strong. That popularity is temporary. But character, values, the people who love you, those things last forever. And that's a kind of power no bully can ever touch. If you enjoyed this story, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Comment below and tell us which part of the story you enjoyed the most. And don't forget to check out the 2 new life stories recommended on your screen right now.